It's been an amazing week in the world of tech, and we're here to tell you all about it. So join us today as we discuss 3 major important stories that will redefine how you look at technology in Africa, basically. So now, number 1, Africa's unicorn is making some major changes, and this time around, Africa's most valuable startup, Flutterwave, is making some major changes, and they're not in the news for good reason this time around. But are we being fair to them? So we're going to address that. And number 2, Nigeria will soon have a record of every bet and debt that happens. And number 3, watch the end to find out about a company that is basically trying to build the WeChat of Africa. So, let's dive into this. Welcome, Bolu and Gozem. How are you doing?
Thank you.
I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay.
Why are you saying that? Is it because crypto is going on?
yes.
Can you imagine?
I mean, it's the day we've been praying for has
Finally come.
You have crypto.
Come on. I saw the signs. I mean, even if I didn't, once I saw that sign, once I saw after that, was it 35K that Bitcoin went? So once I saw that small jump, I mean, you don't need anybody to. You don't even need to do any calculations soon that the bulls are back.
Interesting. So, but crypto rises and fall, and startups also rise and fall.
Oh, yes.
And have they fallen? So, but one of Africa's oldest streaming service, iROKOtv, the founder of iROKOtv, Jason Njoku, wrote an article yesterday that said, "R.I.P. iROKOtv," with a question mark, in case the intonation was not clear enough. So I found that very, very interesting. So the article followed an article by Tech About that showed how iROKO's numbers have been really, really terrible this year. So the question I'm asking is this the playbook that we've been asking for founders to tell their stories? Because the reception so far so good. If you have not read the article, you should read it, by the way. It gives you a lot of context about how startup world operates. So there are a lot of discussions we can have. But number 1, is this a playbook for storytelling? Number 2, are you satisfied with everything he has said so far? I decided to bring the positive side first before any possible negative side.
So
because of Chingozem's face.
So I think am I satisfied with everything he has said?
Why are you starting with that? No,
Okay,
let's start with, is this the playbook for founders to tell their stories?
I think it is. And I also think that thing did 2 things for iROKOtv. So one thing is he took charge of the narrative with that article. Second thing is it also became a form of I'm not sure if it really went outside the whole tech ecosystem to actually create publicity for this iROKOtv itself, and maybe people will be like, oh, what's this startup? Let me, get on board. But I think in terms of taking charge of the narrative, it did that, and then for publicity, it probably generated some publicity for iROKOtv.
You agree?
So I don't know if it's the playbook. So first, Jason is a media guy. He's not a finance guy, so he understands how media works, which means he has an advantage that maybe other founders don't have. Don't forget, this guy has been writing for maybe since 2010 on his blog, and he's been pretty consistent about it. He has always shared his experience. He has always shared his thoughts.
Yeah, I think he even had a subscription.
Yeah, he still does.
Yeah.
Which I should probably go and buy. But I need 60K, so anybody that can help. But yes, he's been doing this for a long time. This is not the first time he's writing about his experience. So I'm still not decided whether it's a playbook, partially because a lot of founders don't want to do that. But then we also have to think about the fact that people love personal brands. They may not love a company, but they love personal brands. So like Bolu said, it has helped him take control of the narrative, set a few things straight. So, I mean, he made a few clarifications that were missing from the first article. And I was even having that conversation this morning with someone, and the person was saying, this is actually what startup founders should do. Like I said, I'm undecided, because what if a founder doesn't want to be on social media in the first place, right? So maybe it's not a playbook. To the second question.
Are you satisfied?
Am I satisfied? So I'm probably going to be a bit biased. So I admire Jason's pragmatism as a founder. He is not one of those people that is very big on what you would often call vanity metrics. So my idea of a business is like the woman selling laptops at Computer Village. I get this at this cost and I sell it to you at X, and the spread over on it is my profit. That's the way I see business. So startups raising a lot of money, burning it on customer acquisition doesn't always, it rubs me off the wrong way because I think it's not sustainable.
Okay.
So seeing someone who is focused on so you started a business to provide services to your people. In a way, it had an altruistic motive. And then along the line, you realize that as much as I want as much as I want content from my country or from my continent to be on a global scale, my guys cannot pay for it. And you start making plans to go to the people who can pay for it. That is like what any business person should do. Although you can also decide to double down, because I know him in that article, he mentioned that he has always believed in Iroko, even in the face of facts, which I'm assuming is referring to the fact that he has known for a very long time that the African market is not very, very ripe for streaming, which now brings me to another conversation.
Okay, can we stop there before you enter another conversation? But
Okay.
this is just like, so Bolu, do you have anything else to add, new to add to what he just said? Or should we move on?
So let's move on. I
Let's
think
move on.
I think it's a conversation we'll probably still come back to.
We'll probably
Yeah.
come back to. Okay.
Probably come back
So yeah, I mean, talking about owning narrative, a company that has had a mixed bag in terms of narrative is Flutterwave. Flutterwave is Africa's most valuable company, valued at $3 billion. It became a unicorn in March 2021, and we just heard that 3 finance executives have left the company amidst talk of an IPO and all of that. So can you give us more details?
All right, yeah. So, like you said, 3 finance executives have left the company after about 18 months of being at the company. One of them, which I think is the most highlighted person, was the CFO. His name is a bit tricky to pronounce. Bambani, yeah. So it came, like you said, amidst talks of an IPO. If you watch the podcast regularly, you know that we talked about, Flutterwave IPO, probably talked about it like twice or probably even 3 times. And then it was starting to look like, okay, are you guys doing this thing or not? But I think the what stuck out to me was, okay, these guys came in, Bambani and the other 2 guys, right? They came in together. I think they came in with Bambani. So they came in at a time where the old David Undain stuff from last year, where Flutterwave they were battling allegations of, bullying staff and, other fraud related things like insider trading, stuff like that. They came in at that time and things were smoothing over. Was it Bambani that did it? Probably. And then the Kenya issues came, $45 million frozen, and then that died down as well. The Kenyan government withdrew their case against Flutterwave, and then we even saw that they gave them what's this thing called? First name
approval.
Yes, first name approval, and Flutterwave was like, oh, we're even going to invest $50 million in Kenya. And then, out of the blues, these guys are now going, right? So first thing that came to my mind was, okay, they brought them in to solve these problems, which is kind of like, maybe they were even like contract staff or something. So solve these problems, and, they were done and they were leaving.
Move on to new opportunities.
Yes. But then you opened my eyes to another possibility. I think that was yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, about when David Undain posted an update on the issues he had with them last year. And then we saw in those, he shared some documents, some SEC documents that revealed that the Flutterwave founders were actually under investigation in 2017 by the US SEC in 2017. And then, interestingly, the SEC decided not to they did their investigations on them, but then they decided, okay, we're not taking any actions now, right? But don't think because we're not taking any actions now is because we didn't find anything or because they're exonerated. We are just deciding not to do anything now. In the future, we might decide to take actions against employees. That was basically what, the summary of what the documents were saying, right? And then this happened around David Udoyi shared this thing, which he said he was not going to share, but I guess Big Daddy, Big Daddy forced his hand. All right, so that's by the way. Okay, for those that don't know, I think he had said something and David Udoyi was like, "Oh, okay, this now I was keeping this before, but I'll bring it out now." And then that happened around towards the end of October, and then we are still in early November, and those guys are exiting. Right, so it's those two things, right? Is it that they came to solve those problems for Flutterwave, and now that they are done,
they moved on.
They are moving on, or is it that
there's
something wrong, and they're like, okay, I think I don't do my best. Let me start going because one of those employees, was like they were actually still looking for opportunities. So it was not as if there was something ready, like, okay, I'm leaving Flutterwave now, moving on to other things. One of those employees was like, okay, if you see opportunities that are aligned with my expertise and things like that, please reach out to me. So it's not as if they were leaving and the next...
They had something else lined up.
I mean, for employees of that caliber, right?
Usually when they leave, there's always...
Yes, they're always moving on to some... It's not as if I want to... when young people or when just regular employees say they are leaving and they don't have anything else, maybe they want to change careers or they want to go off on their own. I mean, but for someone who has been in finance for 20 years, I can't just say I'm quitting and I start looking for a job after that. It's somehow. So basically, those are the issues, those are the theories, and you can draw your own conclusions.
Okay, so guys, draw your own conclusions, eh? Yeah, but we've given you the two angles. Chingozim, do you have anything to add very quickly? Or we should move on? Okay, let's move on. Because we are thinking too much about this.
I'm not thinking too much. I'm just wondering, you're not... if you're hiring a CFO, it's an important position that you typically make at a certain level because you want to either structure your finances properly or you're preparing for something. In Flutterwave's case, preparing for an IPO. So that's a good reason to hire a CFO. But why is that CFO leaving 18 months after with two other members? You're basically going with the same people he came with. Why is he leaving at the same time? So that's what I'll be thinking about. Why are they leaving so quickly without your IPO plans being actualized, right? Also, how much does that affect your IPO plans? Because you need to hire someone else, like they mentioned. And you've been saying, when is this IPO going to happen? So how many months does it add to the waiting time? I don't think there's any link to the David Udoyi article or review.
Okay.
Because I don't think someone with that much experience will make a hasty decision to leave. It's something that he has probably thought about very well before deciding to move. So is it that your priorities are no longer aligned with the company, or you think there are some things that you're seeing that you can't fix, or that you should not even bother fixing because you may be able to fix it, but in fixing it, you get into more problems. So maybe don't even bother trying at all. Or have you fallen out with the CEO?
And all.
Those are all possible reasons for that. So
okay, so we really don't have. Again, I think I agree with you guys, and I think there's a balance to take on both sides. But my concern is the bigger picture. Why does everyone think Flutterwave wants an IPO? Have they actually said it themselves that they want to IPO?
if
Yes.
They've made a lot of
That you've said we
Yes.
want to IPO.
yeah.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am. I'm
I think
positive
I think
about that.
GV
So
spoke to Bloomberg either this year or last year,
Yeah.
saying
Okay.
that they want to.
He spoke to Bloomberg that they want to IPO, or
Yeah.
Bloomberg alluded that they were going to IPO.
So I saw it another article where they spoke to a certain journalists and they said like IPO plans are in the works. Like it's in our
It's in the works.
yes,
Mm.
it's
So-
something we are
So IPO
looking to, like it's imminent.
for any startup, right?
Mm.
IPO should be in the works.
Mm.
It's a major exit event,
Mm.
but we've been talking about IPO as if it's an immediate thing. So the reason why I'm asking this question right now is because I watched an interview that GB did with the banker. It's a Financial Times publication. It's a video, 4 minutes video. You can go and watch it. He says they're exploring options to invest in their business, whether it's an IPO or another fundraising.
Hmm.
So that's what I got from there. Then it does trigger to me like, why do we think that an IPO is imminent for Flutterwave? It could be in the works. These things take years.
I mean, so typically, an IPO
What
could
if
be
it's
something.
a fundraising that is his target?
Mm.
It could be, but don't also forget he was seen with the. He was on this, likely the media round. I think it's a
The NGX thing.
the NGX said. I don't think that thing was a media round.
As
I think it
as,
was.
as he even rang the bell at Nasdaq, did he
I-
go and ring the bell there?
I don't know. I wasn't following that.
I mean, almost how many founders have gone there to ring bells? Doesn't
No,
mean
yeah,
anything.
like I think part of that trip was also to like drum up support for Flutterwave. Yes, it's possible. So here's the thing too. For Flutterwave, does it make sense to? We've been talking about this since last year. Does it even make sense to IPO just around the time when there's so many rumors around your name? It doesn't make sense for you. So typically IPOs will take around 18 months before it's completed. Like you could set up plans for like 18 months to 2 years.
We've been hinting at IPO since 2021. It's over 2 years.
No,
now.
okay, like that is for the media.
Yeah.
Like actual statements that came from
He
Flutterwave.
hinted
I think
that
that
it's-
only
Mami has
started
been
last
waving her
year.
flag before she hit somebody.
Okay, so guys, yeah, we've heard all the talks, the questions on both sides. The finance executives are done with what they are doing and they moved on to something else. Did they fall out? Did something else happen? Was it part of the whole issue with the second investigation? Which, of course, on Flutterwave's part, it seems they're saying is a non-issue. These are things that have been resolved.
All of us are being investigated.
So we've moved on, right? So those are the conversations that we need to be having. And please let us know what you think in the comment section. Now, this story is far removed from what we just talked about, Flutterwave, but also the next story rather is far removed from what we just talked about, but it's also very, very important. Nigeria is building a civil registry, and essentially that means a record of every birth and death that happens in Nigeria. It's a very, very, very important thing for so many reasons. And anybody wants to go?
Well,
Okay, so basically, instead of so in a few years, or possibly in a few years, people that used to lie on their birth certificates, and a lot of
what age?
a lot of other issues that we used to have, it might become a lot more difficult because now Nigeria wants to store this information digitally.
That's another angle for a headline. You might not be able to lie on your birth certificate again.
Exactly. All right.
should
So
try
they are calling it's a very interesting story, and I think what you said, I think this morning while we were having the meeting was putting, I can't remember how you put it, but basically it's something that has been around for a very long time, right? And Nigeria is just doing it, right? Which is good.
Yeah, well, I was basically asking how it ties in with NIN, for instance. How does it tie in with our BVN?
Okay.
How does it tie in with all the other plenty registrations?
Okay, so
That's what's to do.
let me just read out what they actually calling it. So they are calling it a civil registration and vital statistics system. So ECRVS, right? So it was actually part of the UN identity agenda, right? So to make the process of identifying people a lot more seamless, more digital, right? Because which is what WorldCoin also wanted to do, like, because identifying yourself as is a problem, right? And now Nigeria is putting this thing in the works. They've actually launched it. They launched it on November 8th. They are calling it a geospatial data
repository.
Right. So I think it's good. I think it's a good thing.
So it still doesn't answer how it ties in with NIN
so
database.
This is how I think it's this thing.
Are we going to finally have a central database for Nigerians?
I mean, that's what I think it would look like. Is central. So BVN, you don't use your BVN outside the financial system. Nobody is going to ask you for BVN when you're registering for, let's say, you're signing up on Glovo. Nobody asks for that. But NIN, let's say I want to sign up for another service. That's I'm trying to think of one now that requires me to verify my identity. They'll ask me for my NIN. Nobody asks me for BVN. So we have BVN doing its own thing for finance. Then we now have NIN that is like often used as a substitute for BVN in some cases.
Tier 1.
Yeah, Tier 1 accounts and all of that. So I think the problem is none of them is all-encompassing. NIN is NIN. BVN is just finance primarily.
Will this be all-encompassing?
Perhaps. I mean...
Okay.
I mean, that's also the problem. We always don't know what their plan is.
So there's this global plan that I can't really remember if it's the UN or something. So there's this. Why is man laughing? Oh God!
It sounds like
you're laughing as if
sounding like one world government.
So one
one identity to rule them all.
So something like you having, instead of you having an ID card, an ATM card, you have just one card, right? That can serve as your ID.
Our Czech Christians here.
It's an SDG, is one of the UN.
Exactly.
Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, maybe this is the step to creating something like that. So once we now have once they give it to you, right? And then it's on a database. It will not be easy to carry that information inside.
What do you have to say?
But it's going to be a great thing, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And just as an aside,
Yeah.
it's not going to make it impossible. It's just going to make it harder for you to lie, because even in the US, people forge SSS numbers and all of that, so it's still going to happen. So
Fair point. Let's see how.
But this now makes what WorldCoin doing. It now puts it into perspective, right? Because
Was it out of perspective before?
No.
Why you scanning?
Why is scanning my iris,
Scanning
man?
my iris. Are you?
So,
am I entering a top secret research facility?
So no, it's
Why
simple.
is scanning my eyes?
Although to be fair, the Kenyan government now say that's what they want to do too.
It's actually very simple.
That's one of the. So all these things were just rolling in my head. That's why I'm laughing.
It's actually very simple. So scanning your iris, this thing, it makes sense, right? Depending on who is doing it and how well you can trust how well you can trust what the person wants to do with that information.
That's the key word.
Right. So the thing is,
there's nobody in this world that I'm going to trust with my iris scan. Nobody.
no, iris scan does not mean
Nobody.
anything actually. Your you trust government with your fingerprint.
See,
I don't trust them.
I don't trust them either.
you gave it to them or
I
you did not
just
give
do
them.
it because it is a requirement.
Yeah, we don't have any
play.
choice.
You don't have
But
choice.
You are
look,
getting there.
look at the worst case scenario. If someone wants to steal from me, the worst they can do is chop off my thumb. I'll recover. But you scan my iris.
They'll gouge out
You
your
gouge out
You'll
my
recover
eyes.
as well.
Recover from where? Where will I see another eye?
No, you will not die. You will not die.
Where they to hijack America, Kenya, they will not
But you won't die.
collect
You
the
won't die.
president's Kenya.
What kind of existence is that? It's
I'm
not that
telling
you
That eye.
you
Man,
it's not
does that
like
just kill me now?
it's not like you
Not
grew
only
blind
scary.
from a sickness. No, it got gouged out. Come on, please. This is viewer discretion, please. But honestly, it's I don't think the conversation is about iris. I don't think it's about WorldCoin. Me, I'm saying the central database for Nigeria. It feels like
How many times do we have to,
have
or how many
Next thing that they can come up
initiatives
with
do we have to
NON.
come up with to solve one problem?
see,
It's almost like we're always going round and round.
You
and
you
round
do
in a
this
circle.
registry
What coin
and you
will
also
solve
do
it
NIN and you
Yeah.
will still do BVN. It will not eliminate the need for those other things. You will still do voters
So
registration
for
card.
example now,
That is the most
can I just
everyone.
can I just give my can I do this
You
at
still do
birth?
SIM card registration. I'm
Can I do
sorry.
this at birth? And then I want to get my driver's license renewed, and I'm like, okay, this is my identity. Not me having. I don't know if you've seen this tweet where someone has like laminated files just for
Mhm.
just to
IDs.
show that his vehicle particulars are in order, right? Why do I need all of that? I'll not be carrying books around just for my car. Then for me to prove my identity as a Nigerian, I have the passport, I have NIN, I have the NIN number, I have that, I have BVN for my finances. Then I now have this one, whatever they decide to call it.
Escravos, sorry. yes, yes.
Like
Now
I have
has
all
voter
these things,
registration.
voters registration, and then school
So
ID, work ID. Okay, no, work ID is not our problem. School ID is not our problem. But on the national scale, how many?
how many of these?
Initiatives.
So the thing is, it's okay. So I thought NIN was going to be that with the way they pushed everybody to go and connect their SIM cards last year. I thought NIN was going to be that central database for everybody. Imagine building that death and birth record on top of that NIN database, rather than going to create something
Link
new.
it to my BVN.
Link NIN to the BVN, link
Mm.
NIN to anything. So if I have an NIN, I can do whatever I need to do. But the issue with, I wouldn't link it to BVN because of security reasons. The NIN security infrastructure, so far so good. I have it on good authority that it is terrible.
Well, yes.
So
yes.
security
But I mean-
reasons. But if they can fix that, then
Yeah.
it should happen. Then the central database, they want statistics, right? Link this data to the National Bureau of Statistics, and we have something. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it from a layman's perspective.
So basically, we
But-
already have this thing.
It already
We
exists.
already have it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
the
why
thing
do
is
we
they're
need
just
to
making
repeat
it
it?
digital, yeah. And so the way I'm looking at it, the way I'm looking at the way it should work is that it should work the same way the US
Social security number.
how that works. Like when you get that birth and everything, and how I think Kenya is planning to do that. I think they are, what they
Yeah.
call it, without
Digital
whatever.
Maisha card. Or something.
Yeah. So that is how
Maisha.
it should work, so that you don't have to start doing all of these multiple registrations. You just get it at birth. If you want to do anything that has to do with the government, or you want to do anything that you need a registration number that shows that you're a citizen of Nigeria, you just bring out the number and move on.
Yeah, simple as that. So, yeah, let's. I mean, China really. I think they really hacked this, and which is why a platform like WeChat, I think, is able to work so effectively. A super app that everything is connected. Your finances, your chatting, your shopping, almost everything in one place, right? But Africa has been toying with super apps for the better part of the last decade, like half of the last decade, since super app became a thing. OPay, we thought they were going to be a super app at some point, but
Yes.
apparently that wasn't the case. Gokada too, we were talking about super app. So, but we now have another company, Gozem, and they've made a major acquisition. Chingozi Mafa.
Okay, so Gozem has completed the acquisition of Moneex. Moneex is a fintech startup that provides mobile money services currently. And I think from inception, Gozem has always had this vision, I think about 2 years or so after they launched, to be a super app. So the focus is on Francophone Africa. So if you're a Nigerian, you may not know them except you watch the tech space very well. But they've always been working on that. And now they've acquired Moneex. And the idea is that they already offer transportation services, logistics on the Gozem app. Now Moneex is going to help them build out a fintech vertical, basically. So why is it interesting? First of all, it's another undisclosed acquisition. We need to start hearing how much these acquisitions are worth. Secondly is, what does the super app for Africa, like, what is your hope as a super app?
Me?
No.
Okay.
What is the what is the
Because I don't have any.
what is the hope for a super app in Africa? So, like you mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of people have a go at it, and for people who don't know, super app is just like the name says, super app,
And everything up.
and everything app, kind of something like what our guy wants to do with X.
Mr.
So-
Elon.
You can do your finances, logistics, food, almost everything you want to do on that app. And typically they start out with one service. Maybe in Asia, we've seen the likes of Gojek and Grab start out with logistics, and you now start using those first customers to get other people. So now in Africa, the idea was we have low, we use smartphones, right? We are a mobile first continent, but they are often low end. So you don't have a lot of space. If you remember the days when you had to struggle with like 1 gig of RAM, you had to delete some apps in order for some apps to be on your phone. So the idea was, okay, let's give these guys one app to rule them all. So you don't have to download several apps in that. But so far, that hasn't really worked, right? Gozem still has about 160 something thousand users, which begs the question: is there a hope for a super app in Africa? Right?
No.
Okay, Bolu, why?
I'm going to start with what I think about a super app. And okay, so the thing is, I don't really see the need for a super app. So I mean, Gozem was saying something about low end smartphones and how you. Well, I think, I mean, you agree with me that getting a good smartphone for reasonable price has gotten really good over the years, right?
Mm.
I mean, you see spec sheets and you see price, you be like, how now, right?
Wait, like how? Like what kind of money is this, or what kind of spec
how
is
like
this?
how do you provide all these things
Or
and the
this
phone is
amount?
so cheap?
Okay, yeah, I used to say that before
I
this
mean,
administration, Sha. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
there's always this. They do their mago somewhere, but at least they will give you the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Objectively, the phones are
Yes.
affordable, but when it comes to Nigeria, I'm talking of inflation and
Oh
dollar.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but I mean, our ITEL and they still help us.
Yeah, they
ITEL
still help.
Technos. So the thing is, one, do we really need a super app? Why do I need to be able to buy food on Twitter, send money on Twitter? I'm good with closing Twitter and going to to my bank app, right? So, and the second thing is, will a super app work? Because look at the countries where it has worked very well. Somewhere like China, right? And then compare it to a country like the US, right? Where capitalism is, I would say capitalism there is stronger in the US than, say, China, for example.
Everywhere else in
Yes.
the world.
So where because I mean, does that mean everybody will start building super apps, right? So now OPay is a super app.
Gokada is a super app.
Everybody now starts. So I mean, let's people focus on those, those sectors, and let's people now go for the one that they think serves them well. The idea of a super app is just something I think.
Yeah, I agree. It
It's
really
not
doesn't make
necessary.
sense objectively for any. If wherever I am in the world, I wouldn't use a super app. It means I can't even shut down and focus on a few apps. I have to open your super app to do anything else I want to do, even though I don't want to chat, for instance. Unless you want to create. It also means if that app, anything happens to that app, I lose my password. Just imagine
Use your social media to.
You're losing
crazy.
everything. So then you now come to Africa. I mean, why are you wasting your time with a super app? I'm sorry, there might be something they are seeing that I'm not seeing, but doing a super app in Africa, it makes a case when you are pitching to investors. You want to show numbers, you want to show transaction figures. So having a super app, you are seeing the transaction happening in the logistics side, the transaction happening in the fintech side, transaction happening on another vertical that you choose to incorporate into the app. But apart from that, I don't know.
I think I think my own issue is where they choose to focus on, and I'm not saying this as an indictment on Francophone Africa or anything, but how is smartphone penetration there? One, how is the internet there too? Because those are the biggest things, those are the biggest barriers that I see to people actually using the apps. You said they have 100,000, 100 and how
60
many,
something.
and they are in how many countries? I think 12. Is it just 4?
Yeah.
You're in 4 Francophone African countries and you just have 100 and something thousand users.
Well, I mean, considering the population of those countries,
They-
you're probably looking at it from a Nigerian.
I'm not even looking at it from in Nigeria. I'm looking at, okay, you're in Francophone Africa. There are several Francophone African countries.
Okay.
You're in Togo. You're
So
in
you're
Benin.
in 4 countries.
You're in, which one that one?
Togo, Cameroon, Gabon, and
Benin.
Benin Republic. Yeah.
Okay. How many people are in Cameroon?
I don't have those numbers off the top of
So-
my head, but an average of 5 to 7 million people in each of these countries.
And then we are talking about Africa, and then you now have to now minus the amount of people that actually have access to internet.
Do you know
That's
Wave?
what I'm saying. The whole smartphone and internet
True,
thing.
I get your point.
Do you know Wave?
Mhm.
They have 6 million users in Francophone Africa.
Good. So it's not exactly about the region. It's
They have-
probably about the business model. I think I get what people are saying, because these objections will probably play in the minds of anyone. But then the usual idea or usual justification for what do you call it, the super app has always hinged on ease. That's always been the just ease one, and linked to the kind of smartphones people have. So the question now becomes, if smartphones either become less expensive or more affordable, or people start making more money, then what happens to the need for a smartphone? Sorry, for a super app. And this was also built on the Gojek and Grab playbook. They saw how those guys scaled. I think I can't remember, but Gojek and Grab had like over 1 million users just in a few years. They were able to run guys like Uber out of their countries, right? And that was one of the reasons, because now you're able to like compete on almost multiple fronts. Although, to be fair, some of them too had to start shedding some of the divisions that they had put up in order to get those people. So yes, those are all valid arguments against a super app in Africa. And again, with 160,000 people, or that, after about 6 or 7 years, then maybe you should be asking yourself, do I focus on just one business as opposed to all of that? If you look at the likes of Safe Border had super app ambitions. We can't exactly say they have had any success. I think there's Yasser in Egypt, Algeria, and MNT Halan in Egypt. They all had super app ambitions, varying degrees of success. So maybe Africa is just not the place
Add
for
features if you want to add, but don't call yourself a super app.
I mean, that's
See,
the moment you don't even need to call yourself. If you add those features,
Even
you
those
become a super
features-
app, really.
Once the features become too much, I mean,
Yeah,
and
overwhelming the user. of-
it's like Binance. I don't know if you use because they have that, which was what actually made them create 2 types of apps. Right, within that one app, once you download it, you can move to professional. You can just do the the Binance Lite, which has limited features. But the Lite one is really simple, really. But you see that professional, so many. I don't know who the developers or the designers are, but I'm sure they have they will have sleepless nights every day. There's so much on the. I mean, ask anybody.
So don't you get overwhelmed?
I get over 90% of the times I'm only doing 2 things on this app, and there's like 300 things
So
that app can
if
do.
I'm thinking about Gojek and Grab, I think they do one thing or 2 things really, really, really well that makes people gravitate towards them.
That's what they usually start out with. Then after adding all these other features
Yes, those features,
to get you.
they probably won't get as much adoption as that core feature. For instance, let's say I use Uber a lot, for instance, and Uber starts bringing all those CNN to my face. I probably won't use them as much. I could try it, but I won't use it as much. So there are apps on my phone that I only use when I want to load airtime. There are apps on my phone I only use when I want to transfer money. There are apps that I only use when I'm collecting my salary. After salary, I just move it out.
Yeah.
So those are, if they, no matter what features my salary account guy adds, I'm not doing, right. If I want to take loan, I'm not taking loan from you, I'm taking from someone else. So those are the concerns I have, right? So I need to be able to have options. So if all of you want to start building super app, okay, build. Let me know which one. I'll use the fintech here. I'll use the logistics here. I'll use the ride hailing. It's as simple as that. So it does do one thing really well. And and if you're they're acquiring a fintech company, that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot that they're adding to their mix. Let's even take Interswitch. They're not new to the game by any means, and we're like Africa's first confirmed unicorn. They lost 30 billion naira in chargeback fraud. For those who don't know, Interswitch is the company behind Verve cards. So, yeah, I think that explains a lot of things. Plus, they are the company behind QuickTeller. So, yeah, I think you can put two and two together to see that, a lot of things are going on. And we've had fraud cases with Flutterwave. We've had fraud cases with Fidelity Bank, Access Bank, a bunch of them. Okay, so let me just move on. So, what is this story? Rwanda Parliament wants to end public Wi-Fi fees. So, they pay for public Wi-Fi before.
Yeah, apparently they said.
The story is that the government and some telcos did an initiative where there was supposed to be free Wi-Fi on public buses, but users or subscribers to the public buses would pay for it. That was in 2015, but the project failed in 2016. Since that 2016, the subscribers have still been paying for the free Wi-Fi that they are not using. So someone in the parliament is like, they are not using this thing, it's not working, so let us stop paying for it.
Sorry, my head is paining me. Free Wi-Fi that they are not using.
It's public Wi-Fi on public buses.
Okay, it's not free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi that they are not using.
I mean, Wi-Fi on public buses rarely works anywhere. So I saw a...
We're sure it's a bus chat. Yeah. It's not a regular taxi.
Yeah, apparently the design for the routers were flawed because the routers were made for office use, not room. So the heat, the dust, the wear and tear of the buses spoils the routers.
I mean, the first thing is to go and carry that person that decided to
use office router
inside bus.
I mean,
they should have just bought MTN Wi-Fi.
What's your issue?
Just buy MTN Wi-Fi and hang it. Use sellotape and put it up.
There used to be bus Wi-Fi on BRT buses.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It still works.
Partially.
It works.
On some days it works. On
the
some
main
days
BRT or the small one?
No, the bigger ones.
It should be nice on the small one too.
There used to be AC too, but
oh, AC.
that was
AC never lasts.
Anything AC in public transit doesn't last. So guys, don't forget, Friday tomorrow is Pitch Friday. So come and pitch your startup. Jingles, do you have a message for them? Anything special for them?
Well, okay, so we have like a few VC analysts that will come around to kind of give their give professional opinions on the pitches.
So investment analysts.
Yeah.
Some of us don't know what VC is.
Oh, okay. Investment analysts. Basically, they work with VCs.
Okay, what is VC?
Venture capital.
Okay.
If you have been watching this podcast, you don't know it, man. I don't know what you are doing.
What if
the person just stumbled on it today?
First time. Okay, fine.
Okay,
but they'll not give you money. You don't come there and be asking them to invest in you. Nobody is doing that one now.
Yeah, but you can shoot your shots regardless. Don't let Chingozen's face stop.
If you also want to work in, if you want to transition to VC, I guess you can come ask questions. Like you have to ask them.
This is very important information. Did you post it on your article?
No, because that's not like the focus.
That's not the focus.
Yeah, so but I'm just thinking about it now. You could get professional advice from someone who already works in this space on how to break in. So
okay. Yeah. Let me go and tell founders how to do their thing, even though I've not. Okay, so next week is episode 200 of the Techpoint Africa Podcast, and we're going to we're trying to commemorate the occasion, and I think
rice. Maybe rice.
You eat on the podcast.
We invited. So the thing is, we invited. we invited one of our most engaged listeners or watchers to come on the podcast. Has the person responded? No. So the person has not responded. So we're opening it up to any one of you listening or watching this. Just send us a DM on Twitter or anywhere else you can. Just send the DM to the Techpoint Africa account
or Instagram.
on
I've seen
Instagram.
WhatsApp.
No, there's no WhatsApp, please. Or you could just leave a comment and we could drop the link to our Instagram or Twitter account on YouTube there. So, but you can just look for us and tell us, oh, you'd like to be part of us. So you're going to join us on the studio on that day and have a conversation and we'll have fun and
Bring
yes.
rice.
Why do you keep mentioning rice?
You're in Lagos, so you have to be in Lagos. Thank you.
Yeah, please. You have to be in Lagos. This studio is Lagos
You have
based.
to have means of getting here early and
Yeah, if you have a PJ,
So you have to be in Lagos. Our studio is in Ikeja, the very, very, very hot, the the administrative capital of Lagos. That's where we are. So please, after episode 200, Techpoint Africa Podcast is most likely going to have changes. Things are going to be shaking up a bit. It might not take this regular format you're saying. It might not also take this long that it normally takes. But we might be coming to your audio devices and your video devices more frequently than we currently are. So yeah, just stay tuned. A lot of things planned, and see you in the next one. Of course, in the meantime, you know where to find us.
for our audio listeners.
Yes.
Right? Yes, they can always find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcast.
Apparently, Google Podcast no longer exists.
That's till next year now.
So next year,
It's till next year or till December. I can't remember.
December. Okay, so but of course, Google
For now,
Podcast
yeah.
will soon be part of YouTube Music. So you guys have fun. All right, bye bye. See you guys
Super.
next one.
yeah, bye.